Imagine a world where poverty is eradicated overnight, with everyone suddenly possessing endless cash and vanishing debts. It seems like a utopian dream where printing money could transform everyone into millionaires. However, this simplistic solution to complex problems leads to a treacherous illusion. The ability to print money is not a magic wand, but a volatile force that, if used recklessly, can result in devastating consequences like runaway prices and hyperinflation. We must dismantle the myth of the money tree to uncover the hidden dangers of unlimited cash. Before exploring these dangers, it's essential to understand what money truly represents. Money holds value not from its material, but from the trust that others will accept it for goods and services, grounded in the stability of the issuing government. If money were unlimited, its value would diminish. People would have little incentive to work or sell goods. Ultimately, money is a claim on the goods and services produced in an economy, and its value is tied to the balance of resources available relative to the amount of money in circulation. Think of it this way: if there are only 10 delicious apples in the world and 10 people want them, each apple is highly valuable. But if a million identical apples suddenly appear, their value drops significantly. The same principle applies to money. The main consequence of printing too much money is inflation, which leads to a rapid increase in prices. For instance, if the government distributes trillions of new dollars, people rush to spend their newfound wealth. However, the supply of goods doesn't increase simultaneously. Factories and farms can't produce more overnight. This imbalance creates a scenario where more money chases a limited number of goods, driving prices up. Store owners notice high demand and raise prices, leading to a cycle where higher production costs and wages continue to inflate prices further. The painful outcome of inflation is that your money buys less. If you have $100 and prices double, your savings effectively shrink to $50 in purchasing power without any spending on your part. Why save money when its value is consistently diminished by inflation? People stop depositing money in banks, opting instead to spend it quickly on items that will retain their value, like real estate or gold, or even just everyday goods, before prices rise further. This reluctance to save results in less money for banks to lend to businesses, which slows investment and hinders economic growth. High inflation fosters significant uncertainty. Businesses struggle to plan for the future because they cannot predict their costs or revenues. This lack of clarity discourages investment, hiring, and long-term economic planning, ultimately leading to instability and a decline in overall economic activity. If inflation is undesirable, hyperinflation is a nightmare. It is inflation that has spiraled out of control, with prices doubling or tripling in a single day or even within hours. In such a situation, money becomes virtually worthless. History provides chilling examples. Weimar Republic, Germany, 1920s. After World War I, Germany faced massive war reparations and a devastated economy. The government resorted to printing vast sums of money, leading to catastrophic results. At its peak, prices doubled every few days. People needed wheelbarrows full of banknotes just to buy a loaf of bread. Workers were paid multiple times a day to spend their wages before they lost value. Savings were wiped out, businesses collapsed, and widespread poverty and social unrest ensued. This economic devastation significantly contributed to the rise of extremism. More recently, Zimbabwe experienced hyperinflation, with prices rising by billions of percentage points. The government issued banknotes with denominations as high as $100 trillion. People abandoned traditional currency and resorted to bartering or using foreign currencies instead. The economy completely collapsed, and millions faced extreme hardship. Venezuela has also struggled with severe hyperinflation, driven by a combination of falling oil prices, mismanagement, and excessive money printing. The national currency has become almost worthless, leading to widespread food shortages, poverty, and a mass exodus of citizens. These events aren't just theoretical. They are real-world tragedies that have devastated lives and nations. Why governments borrow instead of printing money? Given the terrifying consequences of unlimited money printing, it becomes clear why governments prefer to borrow money instead. When a government borrows, it issues bonds, essentially IOU, that promise to repay the borrowed amount plus interest at a later date. Here are a few reasons why borrowing is the preferred method, though not without its own challenges. When a government sells bonds, it borrows money that already exists in the economy. This money comes from individuals, banks, pension funds, and other investors who choose to lend to the government. This approach does not create new money out of thin air, thereby avoiding inflationary shocks. By borrowing, the government does not directly increase the total amount of money in circulation. Instead, it redirects existing funds from savers to government spending. This allows central banks to maintain control over the money supply, which is a critical tool for managing inflation. While not always ideal, borrowing theoretically imposes a level of fiscal discipline on governments. They understand they must repay their debts, which encourages them to spend more carefully. If they could simply print money, the temptation for unlimited spending would be overwhelming. Governments often require substantial amounts of money for infrastructure projects, crisis responses, or long-term investments. Issuing bonds enables them to access vast pools of capital, both domestically and internationally, which would be impossible to raise solely through taxes or by printing money. A government that borrows responsibly and repays its debts builds trust and credibility with investors. This credibility allows them to borrow at lower costs in the future and maintains confidence in their economy on the global stage. Conversely, a government that relies on unlimited money printing quickly loses credibility. However, borrowing comes with its own set of challenges. High national debt can lead to interest payments may consume a significant portion of a country's budget, leaving less available for public services. Excessive debt can limit a government's ability to respond to future crises or invest in new initiatives. If a country's debt becomes unmanageable, it may struggle to make payments, leading to a default that can trigger an economic crisis and erode trust. Any government must find a delicate balance. It must manage its finances responsibly, ensuring that any borrowing is utilized productively for investments that foster economic growth and that the debt remains sustainable relative to the size and health of the economy. The allure of unlimited money printing is strong. It suggests a world free from financial stress, where every problem can be solved with a simple command. Yet, history provides stark and clear lessons. This seemingly easy solution is a dangerous illusion. It inevitably leads to the destruction of currency value, rising prices, depleted savings, and ultimately, economic collapse. The value of money is not arbitrary. It is closely tied to trust, scarcity, and the real goods and services produced by an economy. Governments borrow to fund their operations and investments by tapping into existing wealth without unleashing the destructive force of inflation. The path to true prosperity is not paved with endlessly printed banknotes, but through sound economic policies, responsible fiscal management, and the diligent hard work of a productive society. The dream of unlimited wealth through the printing press is exactly that, a dream, and one that history teaches us can quickly turn into a nightmare. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.